of the great things about revisiting old films is you get a new perspective on things. Thinking back to when you first saw a certain movie, maybe you weren't so appreciative of it or you weren't so into it, probably because you were just too young or you just didn't have the attention span to actually pay attention to what is going on in the film. And another thing about looking at these older films is when it comes to action heroes, you never really forget your earliest heroes. For me, back in the early 80s, I was maybe 12, 13 years old, maybe even younger than that. My go-to action heroes were the likes of, I was big time into martial arts movies, and I was James Ryan, was it Steve Ryan? Yeah, I think it was James Ryan, with Kill or Be Killed and Kill or Kill Again, HBO staples. And this was even before I found Jackie Chan, and I knew of Bruce Lee, and but I knew of Shokasugi. But the biggest action star for me back then in terms of martial arts was Chuck Norris. Now, the first movie I remember seeing Chuck Norris in was 1982 Silent Rage. I know, kind of an odd choice, and because it was more of a horror type movie where he goes up against this unstoppable and seemingly indestructible serial killer. And that was in 82. And then it wasn't until 83 where I saw Lone Wolf McQuade. I remember thinking it was a pretty cool movie, and it was probably one of the first times I ever seen David Carradine. But Carradine I knew from Q, The Winged Serpent in 1982 from Larry Cohen. So I knew who he was. So I kind of was like a fan of his already, just because of the monster movies. So it was I knew of who these guys were, and I knew how big of a deal that these two would be facing off would be. So Lone Wolf McQuade I didn't see when it was out in theaters, but I certainly watched it to death on HBO, and then when I recorded them on VHS, and then watched it again and again and again. Now, I know back then I thought it was pretty cool, but for me, also in terms of action movies back then, for me it's got to be those like fast-paced explosions and stuff, the kind of things that Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger became known for, is what I thought and interpreted what action should be. But all these years later, and I watched Lone Wolf McQuade for the first time in quite some time, and I was taken aback as like how really good this movie was. I mean, not just in terms of the pairing of these two iconic action heroes of Norris and Carradine, but also because of the story that this is a great modern day Western. From the great score and to just the way that the film was shot and the way that Norris's character, J.J. McQuade, is so iconic. And really, this is a time where you really never really heard much about Texas Rangers, except they're supposed to be the ultimate badasses when it comes to being cops. You don't mess with the Texas Ranger. This predates Walker, Texas Ranger. So, yeah, there was so many great things that I've forgotten about the movie, and I really like how this movie unfolds like a classic Western. And in terms of Westerns, there are character actors in here who, back in '83, I had no clue who they were, like L.Q. Jones, Leon Isaac Kennedy, or R.G. Armstrong. Now I know who they are. I'm like, oh, I had no idea this person was in here, and I really appreciate them even more so. Barbara Carrera, who I think I only first discovered in Never Say Never Again, which probably means I never saw this until after Never Say Never Again. But yeah, just the way the iconography of these characters. I mean, it's from the fantastic score, like definitely a great score to look for. But one of the great moments is the introduction of the film, the introduction to who J.J. McQuade is. And you get the sense, okay, that this guy's a badass, and then Steve Carver, the director, takes a brilliant moment that is straight out of classic westerns to introduce the character, where Norris walks into frame and a silhouette with the sun behind him, and it's just an iconic shot that you can see in countless westerns. But this is just, I kind of laughed at oh my god, I can't believe they did this, and it's like I kind of really appreciate it because that is so freaking awesome. That is such a great shot. But like I said, this movie unfolds like a Western with great character moments. And basically it's the lawman who works on his own, is forced to take on a partner, and he's going after this ruthless, badass criminal played by Carradine. And this guy seems untouchable, and is like even the feds can't even get him. And he's forced to partner up with other organizations to try and take this one guy down. But this criminal is not your average criminal. He's smart. He knows how to go get at his hero. And Walker, whoops, McQuade is a vulnerable, realistic action hero. Although he does get into some situations that seems a little like far-fetched, but you still appreciate it in the grand scheme of the movie. You really get it. It's like, okay, this guy's a badass, and he's great. Hell, he even has a wolf as a dog, as a pet. It's like, they're not to love. And just so many great moments. And the film also features Robbie Beltran, who you remember might know as Chakotay from Star Trek Voyager. This is this is one of the earliest movies I've ever seen him in. And but it's just that the way this character, J.J. McQuade, is an awesome character, and I would have loved to have seen a sequel to this movie, but I guess we got Walker, Texas Ranger, but I never really watched Walker, Texas Ranger. So this iconic character of J.J. McQuade is easily one of Norris's best, and this is definitely one of Norris's best movies. And I'm glad I revisited it, and I highly recommend, if you've never seen Lone Wolf McQuade, to check it out. Even if you're not a fan of Chuck Norris, this definitely ranks among one of his better films. That goes up with like Code of Silence or Delta Force. Although Delta Force might be like cheesy, hokey, patriotic kind of fare. But in terms of what Norris was in terms of action hero, Lone Wolf McQuade is definitely one of the standouts. So Lone Wolf McQuade, I would have to give 3.5 stars out of 5. Maybe even a borderline 4 out of 5. Maybe I'll have to revisit it again and watch it again. But like I said, it's a lot of fun, entertaining, great character with some great moments, and the fight between between Chuck Norris and David Carradine does not disappoint. And it's a nice build up to that moment. So Lone Wolf McQuade, early Chuck Norris, definitely worth checking out if you're an action fan or you're a fan of Norris himself. 3.5 stars out of 5, maybe even 4 out of 5. So, if you like this retro review, please hit that like button below. Have you heard of Lone Wolf McQuade? Have you seen Lone Wolf McQuade? What are your favorite Chuck Norris films? Who are your favorite action heroes from when you were young? Please comment below and let me know. I'm curious to find out. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do, so you can stay on top of my new reviews, retro reviews, trailer reactions, any other fun things I happen to put up on my channel. And if you do so, be sure to hit that bell button so you can be notified when it happens. So until next time, my friends, see you at the movies.